Next man up, 1025 The Game, Friday edition here on the program. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Should be a great show today. The Titans getting set for preseason game number 2 tonight against the Falcons, 6 p.m. kick. We will see Cam Ward in the starting offense for about 2 series based on what we've seen from Brian Callahan. We will preview that game throughout the show and much more. PK, thanks for coming on. How's it going?
Good morning. Going well. Good morning, Nashville. Good to be here. These days, especially when you're on the road with the team, are very long. I came back because I had some other affairs to deal with, and I'll be with the fans tonight watching on TV. Curious to see what they do, but also, I confess, once the starters are out, things can get pretty boring. And I only watch because I have to. I don't understand the people that watch because not because they have to.
Right. I mean, I'll watch because we'll be talking about it all next week. Right. But outside of the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, could be a full quarter if the Titans defense is out there for 11 minutes for one series like last week. I mean, you're going to be seeing a bunch of guys who are going to be fighting to make the 53. And then in the second half, probably a lot of guys who aren't even close to making the 53 for the rest of the game.
I had somebody ask me, like, well, why don't they do more to keep us interested in this? They don't care a bit if you're interested. They being the Titans, they being the league. It's just not, they've gotten themselves off the hook somewhat by reducing it to 3 games. But I think there's far less complaints and far too much acceptance of the terrible product. And I mean, there are teams now that don't play anyone ever. It's just a horrific 3 weeks of football in a lot of ways, but people love it so much that seeing 3 snaps of their guy is somehow satisfactory to them. It's an awful product. And we talked yesterday morning when I was on Robbie and Rex Road, about the idea that Cam should play more. And everybody would love to see Cam for 3 quarters, but I can't imagine the decision makers sitting around a table, every conversation touting the benefits of seeing him ends with somebody saying, but if he gets hurt, we're dead. But if he gets hurt, we're dead. And it all circles back to that, and understandably so.
Yeah, the risk reward just doesn't make sense to play Cam Ward more than what they're playing him already. I mean, yeah, Shedeur Sanders played 3 quarters, but you didn't spend the number 1 overall pick on Shedeur Sanders. You spent the 144th pick or whatever it was. For Cam Ward, this season is over if he gets hurt.
And it doesn't even have to be Cam Ward. I mean, Tyjae Spears is going to miss a couple games at the beginning of this season.
Right.
And that messes the Titans up to at least some small degree. Tyjae Spears is not an irreplaceable part or a massive factor for this team, but he's the number 2 back, and they don't have another guy like him.
Yep.
So it throws their running back rotation out of order. And quite frankly, they probably need a replacement for Tyjae Spears for those games, because Chestnut is not the same kind of guy. Mullings is not the same kind of guy. Now, maybe their bottom end backs get a chance to be that kind of guy, or maybe they change what they do. But if you have to change what you do because a guy rolled his ankle in preseason action, that preseason action messed you up.
Yeah, and there's a reason why, like you said, there are some teams that just don't play anybody. Like tonight, we're not going to see Michael Penix for the Falcons.
Or Kirk
Cousins. It's going to be Easton Stick out there, and we'll talk more about that later on. But they did go from 4 games to 3 in the preseason, and when it was 4, you at least felt like that 3rd preseason game, you were going to see the starters for a decent amount. That was kind of how everybody operated. And then the 4th game was just meaningless. It was always the Thursday, the week before the regular season starts, and nobody played. So with the 3, it seems like it's gone from more of a uniform, like, all right, a little bit in game 1, a little bit in game 2, a lot in 3, nothing in 4. Now it's to each their own. Some teams are going to play, like Joe Burrow played almost a full quarter for the Bengals in their first preseason game, but there are obviously a lot of teams like the Buccaneers who played absolutely nobody last week.
Yeah, and it just makes it hard to to gauge what it means. Offensive line for the Titans looked very good last week, and it didn't see the 4 frontline guys for the Bucks up front. Now J.C. Latham, pointed to one of the guys he was going against and said he's going to be a significant role player for the Bucks. Don't sleep on him. Well, that's fine, but he would have been the second guy that J.C. Latham saw, not the first guy. So then you have to calibrate it. The coaches do, and they can, but it's not the same.
And we don't know what the Falcons are going to do tonight. Raheem Morris came out earlier this week and said no Michael Penix. And I don't know if he officially ruled out Kirk Cousins, but he said likely no. And what would be the point of playing Kirk Cousins in this game? But I don't know defensively what we're going to see from the Falcons. I think it would be good to have their first team defense out there at least a little bit tonight, just to get a little bit of a gauge on, all right, is the offensive line actually improved?
Well, if you're the Titans, you absolutely want the Falcons to play as many top flight people as they can. But, I would presume you're not going to see Bates or Terrell, who are the guys that were giving them problems in the secondary. I would presume you're not going to see London, who shredded them on the first day. They did their work in those practices is what most teams think after the practices, and that's the value of the practice.
I would guess at least you're going to see those young pass rushers the Falcons spent first-round picks on. Obviously, locally, James Pierce coming from Tennessee. I would guess you'll see him. And then Jalen Walker's the Georgia guy who came out this year. So I would guess you'll at least see some talent in the pass rush. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think you're seeing those veteran guys like Terrell, like London, like Bates, who, again, what's the point of, especially with 2 joint practices? Like these are usually the weeks where you don't see the starters because they've already gotten so much work in. And maybe next week would be the time that you actually see some of the starters get in.
And I've talked to a friend in Minnesota, and he expects nobody to play.
Yeah, I've kind of been thinking that third one. Yeah, it would make sense to maybe see more Titans because it's the only week without a joint practice.
And you're home.
And you're at home. But also, if you send Cam Ward out there and he throws a touchdown on the first drive, just get him out. Like, what would be the point of going out and maybe killing his confidence heading into the regular season if you can get one good drive and that's all you really need?
Look, the number one job in the preseason is to get to the regular season. That's the sad reality of it. But I think the league has done masterful work at getting us all to quiet down about the preseason. People are still paying money for these tickets. They're part of the season ticket package, all of that. Now it is the 3-game preseason. What it does is, in a year like this, Titans fans are only paying for 1 game. So that's a lot of relief over paying for 2 games, which you used to always have to pay for. Now you're only paying for 2 games every other year. It's still the biggest ripoff in sports. They can take that for a season ticket holder and really reduce the cost of the preseason games and put the cost on the regular season games and on the premium regular season games. This year, there's only one, the Kansas City game. That's how weak the home schedule is. But it doesn't matter how you spread those costs around. It's a lump sum cost for a season ticket holder. But I think as American football fans, we should get back to making noise about the preseason sucking.
It's horrible.
And having to pay for it and enduring it on TV. And instead, what we do, because we're obsessed with football in America, is we say, football's back. Oh, my God. On Thursday night, we get to watch a few series of so-and-so. When that's not enough, we should demand more. Now, I'm not saying there's a solution to it, but we should make them look for one.
The NFL has found a perfect little niche for the preseason because it's before any other football. Like, you don't get college football, and you have that long stretch between the preseason and regular season now because they expanded to 17 games and cut down to 3 preseason games. So it's like everybody's starved for football. And
so we take this.
So you'll take it like next Saturday.
They've conned us into being satisfied.
I'm sure there are going to be plenty of people who go out to Nissan Stadium to watch the Titans and Vikings because maybe you get a glimpse of Cam Ward for 4 plays or whatever it is. I did see.
I don't know. That upper deck at old Nissan Stadium is an awfully tough sell. Unless you're taking a peewee football team up there.
It's not going to be packed out. I think I saw on the secondary sites that the get-in price is like $4 to get in next Saturday.
Well, that's
so
about right.
it's not going to be packed, but I'm sure there will be plenty of people who go over across the Cumberland and watch that game next Saturday. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have thoughts, any questions for PK, who is with us for the entire show, you can text or call our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Plenty to get to today. Coming up next, Titans searching for an identity. PK wrote a great article at paulkuharsky.com earlier this week after the Titans joined practices. We'll talk about why the Titans have had a lack of energy and slow starts throughout training camp so far. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt with you on this Friday. Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game.
Slow start yesterday, slow start in Tampa. Some of the guys showed some concern for that. Where are you as far as that process?
Yeah, glad they have the standards high. I don't think we started the practice the way that we'd want to. I think slow starts, though, I think are relative a little bit to the performance. So if you go out and play well, it doesn't feel like a slow start. If you go out and don't hit a couple throws and make a play or two, it feels slow. The difference between the two is just simply that sometimes is that you don't make the couple plays you need to make early to kind of get it going. That's sort of what happened yesterday.
That was Brian Callahan ahead of joint practices on Wednesday, talking about the slow starts, the lack of juice off the top of these practices. And in the preseason game last Saturday against Tampa, Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newton, next man up here on 102.5 The Game.
We had a good laugh in the press room about that answer and about Cam's answer, which both were, well, it's not really a slow start. It's just kind of not making plays at the beginning. And if you make plays at the beginning, then you're not starting slowly. Yeah, that's what a slow start is.
Right.
And this team, has a history of slow starting that predates Brian Callahan. And then it starts slowly on Tuesday. It comes back and does better on Wednesday, and then feels like, hey, we really bounced back and we really did something. You didn't do something. You played normally on Wednesday. Right. You functioned like an NFL football team on Wednesday. You don't get a gold star for that. You get a big minus on Tuesday for starting slowly. You get a big minus for the previous Wednesday when you started slowly against Tampa Bay. You get a minus for the first drive in the game against Tampa Bay where you're 3 and out, but you don't get a plus for starting okay on Wednesday. You need to start at least okay. Someday when you start fast, maybe, but you need 25 fast starts to offset what you've done previously to get to even.
Right. And I forget where I saw, but Calvin Ridley coming off the field saying, we won today. Right. That it's like
he didn't do that much on the second day, and they didn't win. They washed, maybe.
Right. And I get it. You were 3-14 last year. The two teams you're practicing against both were either a playoff team or a playoff adjacent team.
Yeah. But I think that might be pretty good. I think Falcons might be pretty good.
They've
I think
got
Falcons
a lot of
Bucks
talent.
is an interesting competition.
Right.
I think Bucks could be on the verge of aging out, and Atlanta is not old.
They're rising. They've got all the young.
That's a very interesting
young skill position. Penix top 10 pick, Robinson top 10 pick, London, Pitts. It's like if they can put that all together, you think they could be pretty good. They've got some good pieces on the defensive side. So a wash as the team that had the number 1 pick is. You could say that's what you're hoping for, but to come out and say
combination of the 2 days,
right?
Not good.
To come out and say you won just because you were better than the horrible performance on Tuesday, it's not exactly a win.
And look, Calvin's I understand you could take the media as contradicting ourselves. We're looking for juice,
right?
Him coming off saying that is some juice.
Yep.
So I'm not discrediting Calvin. I think Calvin's been terrific in this camp. And there have not been a lot of terrific elements. So I'm not going to begrudge Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley's one of the few guys that's getting things done on some consistent level.
That is true. Calvin Ridley, if you're looking for bright spots in this camp, consistent bright spots, I think Ridley has been one of the very few. Maybe you throw like Cody Barton in there.
Skaronski.
Yeah. The offensive line as a whole, just not being horrible, has been.
But Skaronski, I think, is, and maybe Latham too. But I think Skaronski's been quite good.
It was funny to hear on the way in, just quick tangent, when TD came on with Robbie and Rexroad. TD saying he thinks that the strongest group on this team is the offensive line, which maybe a low bar, but to hear that after 4 years of the offensive line being wet toilet paper is encouraging to hear. And obviously they have to do it in an actual game, but to hear after the last couple of years with turnstiles at the tackle position that maybe the strongest part of this team is the offensive line. That it's
I think he's right, but I think it also if we go deeper into it, it comes with an indictment of other things. Like he was talking about the corners.
Right.
The corners. I mean, Daryl Baker was really bad on Tuesday, and I'm a Daryl Baker guy. But Daryl Baker is not ascending right now, which is bad news, which makes the need for Snead that much bigger, right?
It's a great fantasy football name.
The depth guys, the four undrafted rookie free agents, 2 of whom they paid really good money to, and 2 of whom they paid decent money to, none of them have emerged. Davian Ross, Jalen Kimber, Jamari Harris, Clarence Lewis. no big flash from any. The big guy from Dallas, he looks the part. You look
Yeah.
at him and you're like, oh, this guy's gonna terrible.
Oruwariye?
Yeah, terrible. I mean, he was really bad in
Yeah,
these 2 days.
he
So the
London got him.
corners that I thought, hey, I think Denard Wilson did really well with the corners last year. They invested money in these undrafted rookies, so there's some guys that they really like. Baker is a ascending guy, all of that. That's not coming together right now the way you thought. So I thought corners potentially strong. Now I think corners maybe weak. I think safety stacked right now.
Safety, yeah,
but
you feel good about.
I don't think that Condre Diggs is going to be around. I think Condre Diggs comes in. He really wanted in. I think Denard Wilson really wanted him in and thinks there's some stuff he could do with him, but I think it's too crowded. And I think ultimately he doesn't make the 51 as a fourth safety. I think he's got to get some film. I think he needs to play tonight, get himself some film, needs to play against Minnesota, get himself some film, announce to the league, my foot's fine, I can play, and get picked up somewhere where he can at least be a third. So I think that position's deep right now, where you have Julius Wood and Mike Brown, who aren't necessarily great safeties, but are good special teams guys, position that wasn't put into enough consideration when they went down to 51 last year. But offensive line, I think, looks solid. Depth, interior depth, good. Outside depth, bad.
If Moore or Latham goes down,
you're in trouble.
Yep.
But there are very few teams that have a third good tackle.
Right. There's
there's
very few teams that have 2 good tackles. Right. So it's encouraging to see that Moore and Latham have at least been solid so far.
So you say, hey, those tackles need to keep Cam healthy. Well, hey, the Titans need to keep those tackles healthy.
Yes.
And that, to a good degree, that's luck.
Well, for the Titans last year, the slow starts got them a couple times against really good teams. Like the Lions and Commanders just came out and punched them in the mouth, and there really wasn't much of a punch back. That can happen if you're going to take a step this year. Obviously, we're not expecting this team to be a playoff team, but this team isn't talented enough to climb out of early holes. Like if you go down 14-0 in Denver or, 10-0 against the Rams in week 2, this team doesn't have enough juice, enough firepower in terms of talent to come back in those games. So the slow starts, maybe it is something that, like Callahan says, it's like you're just not making plays, but maybe if you had more juice coming onto the field and you were able to match the energy of the other team, maybe you would make more plays early on. I think it goes both ways.
I think you hit, it seems simple, but I think you're hitting on an important point there. Like this overall lack of juice or of energy or of moxie or of presence, we can put it in a million different ways. May just come down to talent. They're just not that overall talented. And when you're not that overall talented, it's hard to have that. And I think, they're still looking for it. They're young and they don't quite know who they are, what they do. But like some fans have come at me after I wrote that column and kind of said, well, like, do you have to have that? Yeah, you have to have that. You have to at least have something you're aspiring to. This reminds me of I don't know. Were you a West Wing guy? I love the West Wing, and in the West Wing, a story about a president and his administration when they were campaigning for a second term of president. They wanted the opposing candidates to get the "why do you want to be president" question, because most candidates didn't have that tight, nice answer about why you want to be president. And when you fumbled around with that question, that exposed you. And I think when a football team fumbles around with the who are you question, that exposes you kind of in a similar way, right? And I don't think the Titans are fumbling around with it. They're admitting they don't
really know.
They don't really know. And when you don't really know, you're a certain level of football team.
Yeah, that's an important point, because like under Vrabel, as much as Vrabel had his flaws, you knew what type of team the Titans were going to be. Callahan, I think, is still searching for what kind of head coach he wants to be. And I think for him, it was probably hard last year because he was a little in over his head with first-time head coach, first-time play caller, didn't surround
three
right,
first-time
didn't
coordinators.
surround himself with guys who knew what they were doing in other spots. So I think this year he's trying to establish that, but I don't know if we really know exactly what this team wants to be and what they're going to be this year.
I think to a degree he would say, an efficient timing offense.
Right.
Right. That would be at least a piece of it.
Yes.
Well, let me tell you about the efficient timing offense. When they throw mid-range passes and it doesn't go well, they turtle and they say, all right, we're going to get the ball out of our hands quickly into playmakers' hands. Well, playmakers aren't that fast and they don't do that much with the ball when they get it in there. So if you throw a quick out that's 3 yards, you're getting 3.5 yards. Now, are they going to march down the field 4 times a game on 14 play drives? What do you think the odds of that?
I would guess no.
Right. You're going to need, a couple 40-yard plays. And I think when they don't hit on it or something messes up, they get gunshot. And I think you got to fight through that to a degree. And all of us in the press were kind of talking about that. It seems to us that when something goes wrong, they say, all right, let's reset with Cam. We're going to get into the rhythm again, and then maybe we'll build back up to that. But every time we build up to that and it goes wrong, reset, and we start to build again. We're not going to have something go wrong downfield and get to that very quickly again anytime soon.
Right. You want to it's the old saying of like, let the quarterback make some easy throws and get into a rhythm. But it's like, eventually you have to take some shots. And with Cam Ward, he claims to be a gunslinger, and that's how he wants to play. Like, you got to take some shots, and it's not always going to go right. Like, the completion percentage on balls thrown 20 plus yards down the field isn't going to be 70%, but you have to be able to take those shots, because without the electric playmakers, like you mentioned, like, you throw a screen pass, you need to have a guy who can weave through traffic and make a play out of it. And, without Tajay Spears, is there really anybody out there who can make that kind of play for you?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're doing it with Ridley, but this is the other thing. We talked about it yesterday. Like, if you're playing against a smart team with a decent defense, their number one thing should be to take away Calvin Ridley.
Right.
Then what?
Yeah. Who else do you go to outside of, you got Pollard in the run game, but you're relying on a lot of rookies and a lot of guys who are on the downslope of their career, like a Tyler Lockett out there.
And I feel like the Titans are waiting on a lot of stuff. One of the things they're waiting on is like, who's that guy?
Yep. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have thoughts on the Titans, we will get to your phones coming up. This September, Tim McGraw will be performing at Trinetics Rock the Cradle in Nashville, a meaningful event supporting newborns and moms at Ascension St. Thomas Midtown. Get your tickets now at rockthecradlenashville.org. The Titans also continue to focus on team bonding, trying to build a family environment. Do we think it matters? We'll talk about that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt with you on this Friday. Titans taking on the Falcons. Preseason game number 2 coming up tonight. 6 o'clock kick down in Atlanta. Talking about the Titans' identity, and the one thing that you can really point to of what Brian Callahan has tried to do throughout the offseason training camp is team bonding, trying to get some closeness among this team. And you saw it in the offseason program with the rock, paper, scissors, and the 8 competitive teams that went around. And then you've seen the videos and the pictures from this road trip of the team doing karaoke at their hotel and going out and doing laser tag. Does any of this matter is my question here, because I understand. I like that Brian Callahan is at least, you can tell that he's not set in his ways and is trying to make adjustments based on how bad last year went. But is the team bonding really going to hold up if this team starts 0-5 this year? And is the experience from laser tag on this 10-day road trip really going to help them moving forward into the regular season?
Here's what I wrote. I'll give you the line I wrote. This column was better in my eyes than I thought, because I've referred back to it now in 2 days of radio in little snippets. Regarding this closeness thing, I said, maybe that's fruitful in some way. But when you're not as good as the guy across from you, your bond with the guy next to you isn't the most important thing.
Yep.
So look, I don't have any objection to it. Like, I know a lot of people want to make fun of it or think it's whatever. There's no downside to it.
Right.
It's not a bad thing that you know your teammate better or that you're more of a family atmosphere. There's no downside to any of that. But does it make you better football players? No.
Is it going to win
does
you
it
a
make
game?
you go the extra mile for that guy a little bit? You know,
Maybe.
Sure. And there's value in that. But not that much value, not so much value that it look, this team to win games is going to have to outplay some teams, outfox them and stuff like that. And I understand how he thinks an element of this will help them do that, but there are a lot of other elements to them. They're going to need to be out-coached. Do we think that Brian Callahan is going to out-coach some of these other teams? I mean, I think everybody's got less faith in his ability to do that than in Mike Vrabel's ability to do that.
Sure.
We saw Mike Vrabel win some games where you came out of it and said he out-coached the dude on the other side by a mile, and they won that game largely because of Mike Vrabel. We haven't seen Brian Callahan do that yet. Can he? We don't know. But I think even the most optimistic Titans fan is not saying we're going to win 2 or 3 games this year because of Brian Callahan. And until they do, I think that's fair. And I love Brian Callahan, but we need to see some proof of concept.
Right. The Titans in almost every game they play are going to be the less talented team. You could make an argument the Browns or the Saints.
And Jags.
The Jags.
The Jags have some talent,
the
but
Colts.
Some questions there too about what they're doing.
But
they've got an inexperienced GM who put that thing together. Right. They're at the same. They're really a year behind the Titans.
Yes, and you don't know what their quarterback's going to be. Will he ever take the next step? It doesn't seem
now or never.
It doesn't look like it, but who knows? You have to win on the margins in these games because, again, in all of them, you are going to either be less talented or it's going to be, give or take a little bit here and there. So you're right. Maybe having the closeness and the team camaraderie, maybe that's part of it, but that's not going to win you a game. You need a lot more than that to help you win these games. And Brian Callahan, although I don't think you could look back on any specific game last year and say a decision Brian Callahan made lost them that game. Their 3 wins, I don't think you can point to anything and say Brian Callahan won them that game, or Brian Callahan did something that helped them maybe keep this game close. This year is going to be important to see. He doesn't have to be Mike Vrabel and send the 12th man onto the field to give the Texans a first down that helps them get the ball back. But you have to start to see that he understands the concepts of being a head coach while being a play caller. and it doesn't look like it's too much for him.
And I think you could certainly say Brian Callahan's special teams coordinator and Brian Callahan's general manager's personnel decisions on special teams contributed to them losing some games.
Very good point.
And that, he's responsible for some of that,
For sure.
The coaching element of that. Here's another thing just about this trip. There was at least one line of questioning about, like, are they exhausted from this? Look, first off, Callahan wanted to make them uncomfortable with this. But in terms of them getting their rest and being ready for this, they had one practice in Tampa. They had 2 practices in Atlanta. They stayed at a luxury resort that's a winery. I don't understand why there are wineries in places like there's one in Tennessee on one of the interstates. There's one in Flowery Branch, Georgia. I am not a wine expert, but I know this about wine. It's keyed on grapes, special grapes that grow in special places. And those special places are not in Flowery Branch, Georgia, or in Tennessee. They're in places like Napa, California, and France.
Yep.
Okay. So I doubt many of the Titans, some of whom probably have a very good taste and know about pricing of wine,
Yes,
did not come home with bottles of wine from the Flowery Branch winery. Nevertheless, they're staying at a luxury resort winery. Is it your home bed? No. Are you staying at the Country Days Inn in terms of uncomfortability? No. Trust me, they were fine on this trip.
right.
They'll be happy to get home tonight at 2:00 in the morning or whatever it is. But this was no massive strain on the fellas.
Yes. It's not like this is a single A baseball team going on a 10-day
school
trip.
bus.
You're taking a 12-hour bus ride to go play in the middle of nowhere in front of 8 fans. Like, that's not what they're doing right now.
Right. Let me tell this story. This is interesting, for just like the way of life of these guys. I was talking to a staff person, and I was just asking where they were staying in Atlanta. I'd like to know my proximity.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm ashamed to say it. I rarely know anything about where we are. I get on a bus and I get off the bus. And if I don't leave the hotel or anything, I could not know anything. Everything is set up for all of us. I'm along for the ride.
Yep.
And if I don't want to know, if I don't make an effort to know, I know the hotel when I get off the bus. I see where in town we are. I see the sign for the hotel. I get my room key. Like, I'm not making any fun of that. I'm just saying, like, in terms of these guys being uncomfortable.
Right. They make it so easy.
Get off the bus. There's a sandwich for them and a key. They go to a buffet. The meetings are set. They're given certain time off. They maybe make plans to meet up with somebody, or they say, I'm staying in and watching movies, or, hey, let's play cards in so-and-so's room, or whatever. But there's so little it's so well oiled and stuff. I think we imagine it, but if you really think of it, like I'm saying, they don't even know where they are.
No,
if you don't want to know, you wouldn't know.
I can tell you from, trips with Vandy women's basketball, it's not an NFL team,
right.
But like, I could say the same thing that
right.
if I didn't want to know where we were,
you could easily not.
Literally just get on the bus, get on a plane, and get off the bus at the hotel, and we're there. There's food and all that kind of stuff. So
and for anybody that does business travel, that
right.
Sounds like a dream.
Yep.
Yep.
615.
But I do the same thing. Like I don't know what room I'm in. I
sure.
carry the little sleeve in my pocket. Oh, I'm in 4112
right
today. Because last week it all bleeds together.
Right. Exactly. And it's not like there is something to being away from your home and your family for 10 days, but it's not the reason that they didn't practice well on Tuesday. And it only, not that I heard anybody on the staff or the players make this excuse, but it's only an excuse if you come out at home next week and have a really good practice.
Yeah. And look, there are downsides to being away from home. Sometimes if you've got 2 or 3 little screaming monsters at home, sometimes being away from home, it is more relaxing.
Right. Right. Yeah, that is very true. Sometimes it's good to have your own bed and, you get some sleep for once. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have thoughts, we'll get to some of your texts coming up. Also, PK, you wrote this in on our show plan today about how many tabs you have open on your browser. And I'm very interested to know how much you had about 12 hours ago from right now. 615-737-1025. We'll wrap up hour number 1 after this. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt, next man up, 1025 The Game. Wrapping up the first hour here on Next Man Up, 1025 The Game. Going to get to Paul in a second, but did want to mention Pete Thamel reporting that the NCAA has announced the punishments for Michigan football due to the sign stealing scandal. Michigan receiving a fine that totals over $20 million, and Sharon Moore will be suspended for one additional game in 2026. So
does $20 million hurt them? I mean, that's a substantial number.
That's a big number, but in terms of what the NCAA does, it's a slap on the wrist, as it usually always is. Yeah. Paul announced yesterday on Twitter that he is going to be an adjunct professor at Belmont, teaching some journalism courses. So congratulations, Paul. Professor Paul over there at Belmont. And he put down our plan for today. How many tabs did PK have open on his Chrome browser as of 9:47 last night? So 12 hours ago, How many did Paul have open on his
Well,
Chrome
take
browser?
a stab. Connor, you're invited in on this. Set
let's
an
see.
over on.
Who can get closer? I'm guessing it's a big number. Like I've got 9 open right now. I'm going to guess 18. I'll go double what I have right now.
I'll go over.
You go over that?
I'll say 25.
Okay, you're both way under.
Really? Is it in like the 40s?
Under.
Okay. Let's go 35.
Under.
32.
71.
Oh my. Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying under the ones I was guessing. 71? How do you even tell which one is which?
Take a look at my screen. They're very small.
Oh my goodness.
I just sent out a picture.
You can see just like the little sliver of every single logo on there.
This is absolutely extreme. So my boss at Belmont, now she's the reason for half of these, right? I was at Belmont yesterday learning a bunch of stuff that I need to know. So half of these are my daily life, primarily Titans. Half of these, but this is not uncommon. 70 is a lot.
70
I'm probably close to 50 a lot of times. And some of them are completely unnecessary. I think like, oh, I'm going to get back to that. And I don't. So once in a while I'll go through and purge, and once in a while I'll shut down just to kind of restart from zero. But then I feel bad because like, oh, I've got to open Over the Cap again, or, oh, I've got to open Pro Football Reference again, which is not that big a deal. But we were dealing with I'm in Outlook for a new email account, and I'm in this Belmont thing where you craft your syllabus and all of that stuff. But she saw it because she's standing over my shoulder trying to get stuff. And she's like, I don't know how you could like, she almost had an anxiety attack over seeing it. And then I think she saw my email box, which is also massively stuffed. I'm not an email deleter. I just let it be a big dumping ground, and I can go search for anything I want in there. And then I looked at my phone. Like, what do you have in your phone for your
like unread texts?
Well, unread texts, I have 39.
I've got 8
texts
right now, unread texts.
But
I'm
those
usually
are
good
all
with that.
Probably mostly junk that I haven't gotten to. But like if you go into Safari and go to your tabs, how many tabs do you have in there?
Let's see. I have 159. I'm bad with that
well, you're
one.
killing me there. I've got 91.
I'm very bad at on Safari just opening a new tab and forgetting about the next one.
But see, I think that's becoming necessary because I don't know if this app is closed yet or not. There's a great app called Pocket, where you could just send stories. Like, so if you're reading something or you say, hey, I want to read this, you could send the story to Pocket and it would sit there.
Oh.
And you could get on a plane, say, and all these stories would be waiting for you on Pocket and you could read it. It was like making your own magazine. But that app is shutting down, or it has shut down.
Interesting.
So now I was going to use these tabs like that.
Yeah, just leave it there. I want to know.
But it's all clutter, and I'm just a cluttered guy.
How many unread emails do you have? Because on my phone, my fiance gets after me so much for not deleting emails. I have 66,000 unread emails on my phone right now.
This is making me feel a lot better about my tab. Unread emails, 17,659.
Yeah.
So you're killing me there.
I am so bad with emails because a lot of it is junk. It's it's like promotional stuff that I just leave, and I don't delete emails. So I have 14,000 in one, and then I have 52,000 in the other.
I don't delete in that. I leave them there. I try to get rid of trash. Every couple of days I'll go through. Or like if I'm looking for a certain word and I see like, oh, there are 150 emails from something with that in it that are unnecessary, I'll delete those 150.
Yeah.
But like there comes a time where you're just too far gone. Right.
That's kind of
like
where
if I wanted to clean my email,
it would take me days.
It would take me a week. And I'm not interested in spending a week cleaning my email.
Right. I like, as long as I'm not running out of space, because I guess like Gmail gives you 15 gigabytes or something like that. As long as I'm within that, I don't care.
And also I've got 2 accounts. So I've got my AOL account, which was from the very beginning of time. Like my mother knows that account and I keep it. People laugh once in a while. I just say that my mom knows it. Like it's my first account. So that one's filled with a lot of junk.
Right.
My Gmail account, I don't tend to give out, so it's a lot less
Gotcha.
spam.
Yeah.
And then on my Mac, I can flip between accounts if I really want to, differentiate
Yeah.
or whatever. Now I've got a Belmont account.
That's where I am so I have my one I've had since I was like 10 years old or whatever it was. When I was in elementary school, my parents opened a Gmail account for me. That's the one I primarily use. But I was very bad in college of using my student account for like everything. And so now they've tried to shut that down on me like multiple times. And I don't want to lose it because I don't know where I'm signed in on that. And then I've got a Vanderbilt one now too. So I'm all over the place. The tabs I'm usually pretty good at of not getting above like 10 to 15 tabs.
That's very impressive.
But emails are bad.
But see, like I've got 2 chat GTPs open. One that I use for headline help. All right. So I could close that and open another one, but I'm just going to open it. Another one that was helping me with like a marketing sheet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm done with that. And if I went back and asked it to do something, it'd say, I don't remember it anymore anyway.
Right.
So I'm closing that one right now.
There you go. Down to 70.
Done.
Down to 70.
I'm cleaning these up today, as far as you know.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'd love to hear from you. You can text or call our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will get to your phones when we come back. Plenty more to get into on the Titans. Cam Ward only going to play a series or two tonight. Obviously depends on how he does. But who else are we looking to see in preseason game number 2 against Atlanta? 6 p.m. kick tonight. We will dive into that next. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Second hour on this Friday, Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt with you, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Plenty more to get to on the Titans as they take on the Falcons tonight.
Can we talk about waiver claims for a second?
Yes, let's do it.
The Titans sell that this is a big bonus that they got the number one waiver claim. They just claim this linebacker from Minnesota, who does not come with a big. I can't get my damn. I got so many things open on my,
those 70 tabs.
screen. I can't get to it. I'll tell you a little bit about this guy.
Yeah, Brian Asamoah.
Asamoah. So I talked to somebody in Minnesota, and they say Asamoah, fast but really undersized. Doesn't have great instincts. Played some at inside linebacker as a rookie. But Brian Flores had no use for him when he got here in 2023. Decent on special teams, but didn't have a path here beyond that. So that's what you're getting with a waiver claim, right?
Right.
Maybe he's going to be a special teamer here. Is he the solution to inside linebacker? If he is, it's because the Titans really pull something out of him. They pull something out of him that Brian Flores couldn't pull out of him. So what are the odds? Very low, right?
Right.
This is what you're getting most of the time. And then you go and look at, here are guys who are on or have been on the Titans recently, or Corey Levin was a waiver claim, right? But Corey Levin was a Titans draft pick that they claimed back.
Then they got him back.
So he's fine. Daryl Baker, that's a good waiver claim. Julius Wood, that's a good waiver claim. Daryl Baker's going to start could start because Snead's not there, but he's a depth corner. Julius Wood, conceivably a low-ranking safety who's a special teamer. Ali Gay, an underachieving guy that you're dying to replace, who's an outside linebacker, right? Anthony Orji just tore up his knee, probably wasn't making it. Amari Burney, I'm not sure if he's on the team anymore or not as an outside linebacker, right? Mark Perry, safety, I think he's not on the team anymore. Titus Leo, outside linebacker. Again, I'm not sure if he's on the team anymore. Curtis Jacobs is in the mix at the back end of the inside linebacker. These are the kind of guys you're going to get. Now, they're saying, oh, we have the number one, like Curtis Jacobs, Titus Leo, Mark Perry. Those were guys you got with the number one claim. Did other people claim those guys?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Right. And a guy like Corey Levin, you got when you didn't have the number one claim. Would you have gotten him at number one? Yes. Did you get him at number whatever you were? Yes. So this is what my point. The Titans have gotten a lot of guys off waivers without having the number one claim that nobody else wanted. Oftentimes you want somebody, like there might be a guy that that's a surprise cut. Everybody's going to want him, or a lot of teams are going to want him. I'm not going to bother putting in a claim because I know if the Titans don't take him, the Patriots are going to take him or whatever. But there are plenty of guys the Titans will get with the first claim that they would have gotten with the 15th claim.
Right.
So it's not that big a deal. It's generally oversold and over-respected by the Titans fan population.
Yes.
That this is a real chip.
And
Jace Amaro was the best guy they got last time they had the number one pick. Do you remember the name Jace Amaro?
I do remember the name.
Do you remember his career?
Not much.
That's because he didn't do anything.
I believe he was best with the Jets when he was in the league. But
Who
that's
cut him, making him available.
Then he came to the Titans. Yes. I agree with you. I think it's important for when they cut down to 53, you might find one or two guys that are surprise cuts that other teams are going to want. And having the number one waiver claim gives you that priority. But those guys aren't going to be starters for you. You're filling in the depth at the back end of your roster, it's bad. So you do need players like that. But I agree. It's like saying you have the number one waiver claim doesn't mean we're going to find our number 2 wide receiver, our number 2 cornerback on waivers. It's like you might find a number 4 cornerback on waivers who can be better than Daryl Baker, possibly.
Sometimes they sell it like, hey, here are the avenues for player acquisition. The draft, early free agency. Now, those are the big two.
Yep.
Late free agency, Maybe there's some guys getting healthy.
Right.
Maybe there's a June 1st, an actual June 1st.
DeAndre Hopkins
very
type
small
of guy.
Julio Jones was
Right.
a trade, but that was late.
Jadeveon Clowney was very late.
But that's a very small pool.
Right.
And now these cuts, waiver claims. Well, the guys who are getting cut from 90 to 53 are mostly not going to be in the NFL. And you're not even getting them to put them on your practice squad, because what you want on your practice squad are guys who know your system.
Yes.
And can step in. And where did they learn your system? From being in training camp.
That's why typically, there's rare occasions where you cut a guy that you want to get back on your practice squad and he doesn't get through. But for the most part, it's like people worried, could the Titans get Xavier Restrepo back on their practice squad? It's like, yeah, teams had a chance to draft him for 3 straight days and no one came.
LeGarrette Blount, got away.
Right.
And so people always remember that, he's going to be the next LeGarrette Blount. Very few times
there's rare cases
you lose a guy. Now you have to be willing to lose him. But I got to tell you, Xavier Restrepo, I'm not sure he's destined for the practice squad.
There's a chance. He played 11 snaps last week, so that kind of shows you how the coaching staff feels about him.
And everybody, the Restrepo supporters who have quieted some, but they're still elite, say, well, he's got to play with the ones in order to get. You got to earn your way to playing with the ones.
Yeah. Has he done anything? He had a decent offseason program where it's like people were looking and saying, okay, maybe he's in that 6th or 7th wide receiver conversation. But since training camps opened,
he's dropped out of it. Right. And look, he's a reliable guy who makes catches and does the right things. But you could be a reliable guy who does catches and makes the right things and just doesn't have enough juice to make that count for anything.
It's like the big, slow centers in college basketball who are great college basketball players. But in the NBA, when you're facing 7'1" guys who can jump out the gym down in the paint, doing the right things and being fundamentally sound is only going to help you so much. And that's kind of where Xavier Restrepo is with his 4.8 40.
I've got another big Titans beef. Set me up for that later.
Let's do that. Let's first go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Trey is on the line. He's waited patiently. Trey, good morning. Go ahead.
What's up, Trey?
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing this morning?
Great.
Doing great.
Hey, I want to ask Paul, with his interactions with the team this year, as far as, going to practice and doing all that with the team, how many games realistically do he think right now with our defense that we'll win this season?
Yeah.
Y'all have a good day.
Thanks. Thanks. I'm really not big on putting a number on things and doing predictions. Because then everybody comes back and ahas you. And the unpredictability of the NFL is what makes it great. I think they're going to have better results than they had last year, but I don't think they're good. I think they're going to have better results because it's hard to only win 3 games in the NFL. Just like it's hard to only lose 3 games in the NFL.
Yeah.
The gravity of the league pulls you towards the middle.
Yes.
And I think they will be pulled towards the middle, but not by a great deal.
Yeah. I don't know if you can, I believe it was TD who did the ESPN article this week. They had every NFL Nation reporter put in their ceiling and floor for the team. TD said the ceiling is 9-8, and you might think 9 wins. How are they going to get 9 wins? You're right. The NFL, it pulls you towards the middle. And if everything possible went right for the Titans, there is a path to maybe getting to 9 wins. But odds are it's somewhere in the middle. It's going to be 5, 6, 7, 4-13.
Yeah.
But that is without injuries, I believe.
I can't see them getting the 9 wins. I think it's a dreamy scenario.
That would,
I think that ceiling floor.
Right.
Look, he's forced to do that ceiling floor.
Yeah.
They tell their 32 people to do that, and I think if you go through that team by team, the gap is going to be the same for everybody. It's like a 7-win gap between everybody's ceiling and floor,
and it's
which is exactly what we're talking about.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
So it's a somewhat silly exercise, and that's not on him. That's on the middle management, ESPN, that comes up with stories, which is my least favorite part of working there for 9 years that I worked there. Like, hey, go ask guys their favorite wrestler and how they relate to him, and then they have a big hey, here are the 32 teams and how they relate to WWF.
Connor Newt would love that.
Be my favorite.
I think I might have had to ask that once, or I, spent career capital on telling them why it wasn't a good idea because I was a guy who couldn't stop myself from trying not to do that.
It's list season, as we say, and they wanted to put out another list. Ceilings and floors. Again, TD said 9 wins is the ceiling, 4 is the floor. I mean, it's going to be somewhere in the middle.
I got to give them grief when I see it. Spell out for me how they win 9 games.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. You can text or call our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Later today on ESPN 94.9 The Fan, the Nashville Sounds take on the Durham Bulls. First pitch is at 5:35. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Sounds baseball on ESPN 94.9 The Fan is presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. The Titans playing their second preseason game later today. We'll look into some of the players we'll have our eyes on in Atlanta after this. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt, next man up, 102.5 The Game.
the first team offense, it seemed like that outside of Calvin, some of the receivers weren't getting a lot of separation, weren't getting, you know, into their spaces sometimes quickly enough. And particularly with Iomanner, it felt like he was timid on a couple of 50-50 balls where maybe he should have gone up and, you know, taken charge and taken the ball away from the DB. Is that a concern to you that these guys are not creating the separation against the DBs that you want?
No, I don't think that's necessarily a concern. I mean, they're good players. You know, I think AJ Terrell is a really good player. I know Jesse Bates firsthand. I know how good he is in their secondary, and they do a good job. I mean, they have players, and I think it was a good test for Alec. He had a chance to go up against AJ a couple of times in team periods, and he's getting a little bit more work share in some of those spots. And for him to have those opportunities and see what it looks like when you're playing against a real dude out there, it's good for him. And he learned from it as a young player. There was one pretty contested ball that, you know, they got all tangled up, and you'd love to see him make that play. And you hope that the more experiences he has in those positions that he ends up making those plays. So it's great for him to go against that kind of competition. I think it's been good for our team to go against their defense. And they got a good secondary, and it's a good test. And we'd like to perform better than we did yesterday. And today's another chance to go do it.
That was Brian Callahan talking about his young wide receivers and the inability to get separation in practice against the Falcons earlier this week. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newton, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Titans and Falcons preseason game number 2 tonight at 6 p.m. And once Cam Ward leaves the game, I think most eyes are going to go to that young group of pass catchers. Gunnar Helm, Bryce Oliver, Chim Dike, Alec Iomanner, who Coach Callahan was just talking about there. Last week, 10 targets for that group. And you can include Restrepo in there too, I guess. He got a couple of targets. They had 3 catches for 33 yards combined on 10 targets. Do we get a little concerned when these guys are playing against backups for the most part, and they haven't produced, at least through one game? But also you have to understand they're playing with a backup quarterback as well in either Brandon Allen or Trevor Siemian. It does feel like some of those guys need to pop tonight if you're going to see the progress for these young guys.
You'd like to see better, for sure. Iomanner's the one that I'm keeping an eye on. He seemed to get targeted a lot in the 2 practices. I asked him, you know, is there concerted effort to get you the ball? He said it's not. There's not like a plan for that. It's all about reading coverages. So apparently he got some favorable stuff. I liked that he said he was bad on Tuesday. He said it was his worst practice since he's been with the team. You know, he was kind of timid. He said his energy was down. He wasn't feeling it. He didn't bring it. He couldn't find it, whatever. Great candor, great self-awareness. Said he did better with that on Wednesday. You know, I think that they presume that Lockett and Jefferson are going to bring it on opening day, veterans who know what it takes. But you'd like to see one of those other 3, and I'll put Bryce Oliver in there, emerge as a serious 4th who is going to be in the mix and contributing. And, you know, I don't think any of them are there yet. They need more experience. I don't think, you know, I think if you get something big out of one of those guys in a game early, it'll be kind of a surprise. It's going to be gradual growth. I think the overall expectations for those guys are high. Like, you're foolish if you draft any of those guys. They're not going to, the collective number might be fine, but unless one of them really takes off and pulls away from the rest, those numbers are going to be spread out. And even the combined number amongst those 3 is going to be what, you know, unless Iomanner breaks through and takes that Jefferson role, right, which he could. You know, I just don't know that the snaps are going to wind up where you want them to be. I pick on Terry McCormick a lot. He asked that question, and I fall victim to this too. But it's inadvisable to ask a coach, are you surprised that? Are you concerned that? It sets them up. No. A coach is never going to say, I was surprised that, or I am concerned that. It exposes them to being unprepared, right, or having some worry about his team. So, I fall into asking those questions once in a while too. But with Jeff Fisher, you knew never ask him if he's surprised, because nothing surprises him. That's his thing. He wants to come across as prepared for everything. And then when he has the Music City Miracle, you can fairly say, well, Jeff Fisher may have his deficiencies, but he knows rules and he has something for every situation.
Yeah.
Don't couch it that way. And so we get better. Brian Callahan's very good with the media, but we get better answers when we don't pose things as, are you concerned? So, what do you think of Isle Manor? And you have to make a concerted effort. And you could say, well, you guys are journalists, you should know better. It's easy to fall into, it's also a conversation.
Right.
So it's easy to fall into conversational norms, but we collectively need to do better with that and might get a better answer if we say, what do you think of the way Isle Manor maybe looked a little timid? Or you got to neutralize the question in some way, shape, or form. Work at it. I don't work at it enough myself.
We got a first lecture from Professor Paul. This is good for your journalism students. If you can teach them how to ask a good question. I mean, I remember,
I did take a 2 or 3 day class at ESPN with John Sawatsky, who's famous interview teacher.
Yeah.
Ask neutral questions that are lean. I can't remember all the basics. I do have a notebook filled with it that was incredible, that I did not adopt well enough and that I try to look at yearly to remind myself. But again, I don't follow it like I should.
I always will remember. So I went to Virginia Tech, but my professors there were Syracuse guys, and they always talked about Jim Boeheim and how Boeheim, if you asked a yes or no question, he would give you a yes or no answer. Or if you asked, I guess the cardinal sin is talk about
it.
Yeah, and he just wouldn't answer because it's not a question. So there you go. There's first journalism lesson from Professor Kuharsky on how to ask a good question to a coach or a player. For tonight, I think you want to see more from the pass catchers. And after rewatching the game from Saturday, Brandon Allen wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't good, but it wasn't Tim Boyle. You get Trevor Siemian in there tonight, T-Money Wiggle, as he's affectionately known, apparently. It has to be better than Boyle and hopefully give some of these younger guys chances, which they really didn't have when Boyle was on the field last Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, the new PR guy who, doesn't know me great yet, but knows my reputation, I think was uncomfortable when I was talking to a couple of the Titans personnel guys. I wasn't berating them. I was just saying, like, why were you comfortable being connected to Tim Boyle? Like, why would you want that on your resume?
Yeah.
0.6. Yeah, 0.6.
I wonder, has there ever been anything worse than a 0.6 in a game setting?
Yeah,
I'm sure there has
guys
been.
Have had zeros. I'm certain guys have had zeros.
Maybe the Nathan Peterman debut.
Yeah, Trevor Siemian, I think, he looked pretty good for a guy that was, there for the first day. I don't know, I don't even know where he slept the day before he was there. He's good at this. I mean, he's been around, plugged into systems and stuff. He'll be better than Boyle. But it's true. Like, it's hard to get a read on your players when the quarterback's not giving them as good a look as he would get with your number one quarterback. And that's a big problem. Everybody's got that same problem, but it's akin to, like, how much do you trust what your offensive line is doing against backups? How much do you trust what your receivers are getting to do with backups? Brandon Allen's got a weak arm. And so there's only so much you can do with him to compare it to what they would be doing with Cam, who's got a stronger arm. And, Siemian has been a number 3 level quarterback around the league for a reason. So you have to score up some things wide receivers do with him, and that's part of the personnel department's job, is to calculate what all of this stuff means.
Right. I guess it's more about the details, I guess, for those guys than the production in these games of like, oh, well, Chim DK ran a great route there, but Trevor Siemian threw it 6 feet over his head. It's like, you can't fault Chim DK for that one.
Yeah. How's the route? What did he do? Was he pressed and did he get off
Right.
it? I think you're begging for press coverage, but are you going to get press coverage from a third string
In a preseason
cornerback?
game,
You're not getting
probably
press
not.
coverage from a lot of first string cornerbacks. So
615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to chime in. Matthew in Nashville says Nathan Peterman's quarterback rating was in fact 0.0 in 2017 in that infamous 5 interception game. So there you go. Peterman, when they benched Tyrod Taylor to put Nathan Peterman in, while they were still in the playoff hunt, he had a 0.0. Michael Madison says Boyle didn't even have the worst QBR of the week last week. Kyle McCord had a 0.5 on the same day. I did not know that.
Not QBR, but passer
rating. Yes. Yeah. Listed as QBR in the text. 615-737-1025.
That's impressive that somebody was worse than Tim
Right.
Boyle.
In
Who was that?
It was Kyle McCord, the rookie out of Syracuse, former Ohio State quarterback.
Where is he?
Where is Kyle McCord? He was one of the guys who was considered a sleeper.
Yeah.
Coming out of
Sleeper
Syracuse.
was making people sleepy with that performance.
Did he break the record for most yards in a season for either the ACC or something like that? Where did he get Eagles? He's on the Eagles. So yes.
I'm sure that went over really well.
Yes.
In the Philadelphia metropolitan area. I have in-laws who were probably screaming at the TV during that.
Well, the good news for Kyle McCord is a rookie will get a little bit longer leash than Tim Boyle did. Tim Boyle only lasted a couple more days. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt in today. This week's Nashville's Best Deal is Fat Bottom Brewing Company. Join Fat Bottom this Saturday for their Lucky 13 anniversary party at 844th Avenue North in Nashville. It's a full day of casino-themed fun, live tattoos from Black 13, face painting, balloon art, games, and of course, ice-cold beer. Get a $100 gift card, half off while supplies last at theGameNashville.com/deals. Plus, don't miss their Lucky 13 anniversary party this Saturday at Fat Bottom Brewing Company. We talked about some of the young guys on offense we'll be looking at tonight. Femi Oladejo is going to have a lot of eyes on him in preseason game number 2. We will look at the Titans' second-round pick coming up next here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt with you on this Friday. Titans and Falcons coming up 6 p.m. tonight, preseason week 2. And one player that I think everybody will be watching tonight every time he's on the field is number 7, Femi Oladejo, the second-round pick who throughout training camp up until the preseason game last week, I think the reports out of camp were that he was showing flashes and maybe was a little ahead of schedule based on how raw he was coming out of UCLA. But then against backups in Tampa last week, really did nothing and was taken completely out of the game. Do we think he can flash tonight? Likely playing against backups. And if he doesn't flash, do we start to question whether he's going to be a force this year, or a factor this year, I guess would be a better word, where you're hoping maybe he could end up being in that mix with Draymond Jones and Arden Key, or maybe he's more in the Jalen Harrell and Jihad Ward kind of tier for the edge rushers for the Titans?
Well, he can't be in that tier. I mean, he's got to be in the top 3. The question is, it becomes difficult. He started that game. Is he going to be a first and second down guy? Because you would think he can run stop. It's an easier assignment to run stop, but you want him to learn on the go. So is he going to be put in pass rush situations? We're talking in the regular season now. Is he going to be put in pass rush regular season to learn on the fly? Or are they going to work him in practice, but put the 2 guys who are better pass rushers on the field in the regular season, which are clearly Draymond Jones, who's not a great pass rusher, but he had 6.5 sacks twice in his career.
He's at least done it in the NFL.
And Arden Key, who's not a great pass rusher, but is a streaky pass rusher.
Yes.
And who is a different pass rusher than the rest of their group, who are bigger, right? And Key is the one slippery, bendier guy, not elite at it by any means, but effective at times. Streaky. I will emphasize streaky.
Yes.
You'll see Arden Key have 3 good games, and you go, Arden Key,
he's figuring it out.
Really doing it right now. And then
he disappears.
He'll disappear for a while.
Yeah.
But we know what he is, right?
Yes.
You know what he is.
There's no illusions with Arden Key that he's going to be a 10-sack guy. He's going to get 5 or 6 sacks, and 3 of them might come in one game.
Yeah. But so what do you want as Titans fans? I think this would be an interesting poll question. Do you want the best pass rush you can get this Sunday, or do you want the best pass rush you can get next year?
Right. And that's what you look at this draft for the Titans, and it's clear that they were not drafting for 2025. Like Cam Ward, obviously you're getting the quarterback of the future, you hope, but Femi Oladejo is a project pass rusher. Kevin Winston is a safety coming off of a significant knee injury. So you were drafting guys who you hope are going to be key
and the
pieces.
wide receivers, you waited until the 4th round.
Right.
Who's the 4th rounder that's bursting onto the scene?
Outside
there have been some.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, there hasn't really been many lately.
But percentage-wise, you're talking probably under 10%,
yep.
right? Definitely under 10%. Here's the thing about Oladejo. I think this is a fair guess. I talk upstairs, downstairs. They're all actually on the same floor, but you know what I'm saying. Upstairs, personnel, player selection would like to see Femi Oladejo play those 3rd downs. Downstairs, where results, they feel like their job counts on results and sacks, want sacks on 3rd down and have a better chance of getting sacks with Jones and Key. How's that strain work out?
Yeah.
I don't know how many 3rd downs. I'm going to the Titans defense here. Titans were on the field for 1, and the defense came off after 1 series.
I believe so. There might have been a couple.
Oladejo stayed on with the 2nd unit, I think. All right. So in that 2nd drive, there was 1, 2, 3 3rd downs. So there were 4 3rd downs that Oladejo could have been on the field for.
Yeah.
I need to go back and look at the film there. I don't think he was on the field enough in those 3rd downs to satisfy some people in the organization.
And that's where the disconnect of the schedules between the front office and the head coach makes an issue, because the front office can plan for the future, but if Brian Callahan knows he needs to save his job, he's going to put the guys out there who can get results right now, not the guys who maybe will be good players for this team in a year or two.
And then, I mean, Brian Callahan certainly has control of who's playing.
Yep.
Right? He's the head coach. If Brinker and Boganzi come to him and say, hey, we really want Oladejo to play those third down, how does that work?
Yeah.
I think that's a fascinating question right there.
That is the
and
question.
Then Brian Callahan says, well, I can play him on third down, but he's going to be less productive on third down, and that's got a bearing on me and my guys. So how does that work?
We're going to see tonight if Femi Oladejo is out there a decent amount and what he's able to do.
Now, I think tonight, it doesn't matter so much. Tonight, I think both sides would say it's more beneficial for us to get Oladejo out.
Right.
But
once you get to Denver,
I don't know. And look, I understand the long-term plan.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested in seeing him get sacked. Aren't you?
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm no big Draymond Jones or Arden Key guy.
But those guys are NFL players right now and can produce at an NFL level right now, even if it's not a star level.
And I wrote that this week. I said, I feel like, and I don't know that it's a worst case scenario. I think it's a mid case scenario. Watching the Titans this year with so many incremental elements could amount to watching an NFL glacier.
Yeah.
And are you and your buddies going to watch the game and say, wow, Femi Oladejo's hand placement on pass rush was a lot better today?
Yeah, I think that's
is that Titans fan base going to be satiated by that?
I think everybody in your local sports bar is going to be, hey, look, Femi, he didn't get the sack there, but look, he used a new move that we haven't seen before and got stonewalled on the inside instead of the outside.
There are granular guys that will watch that. There are granular guys that will write that. And there is a fan base that will read that and say, show me the baby. Right?
Yeah.
The fans want to see him get to the quarterback.
Right.
And if he's not getting to the quarterback, but they're reading about incremental improvements in the steps to get to the quarterback, how many fans are going to be satisfied with that?
Right. Yeah. Like you might get an all 22 breakdown the next day of like, hey, I really liked the improvement we saw from Femi Oladejo in this aspect of his game. But if he doesn't get a sack, the casual fan base is not going, like the people sitting in Nissan Stadium aren't going to be, like you said, looking at, man, look at Femi's hand placement there. They may have given up a 70-yard touchdown on the play, but Femi made a really nice stride with where he put his hands on the pads.
And that may be the level of patience they're asking for. And if Cam needs that patience too, then you've got your first and second pick who need the patience. And then you got depth problems. If God forbid, one of your tackles rolls an ankle and needs a couple
right.
It's not hard to get yourself into a really bad spot.
It's kind of what me and Corey Curtis were talking about on Wednesday. Is like, yeah, you think this team could be better, but you're one or two injuries away from being right back in the first overall pick next year. Yeah. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to chime in. Plenty more coming up on the Titans. Got a little over an hour left to go in the show. Paul has some TV thoughts that we want to get to here. I'm a big fan of terrible television, so I'm excited for
I'm
this.
opening a new tab to get to
get to your terrible television. Back up to 71 tabs on Paul's Mac off to my right. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll wrap up hour number 2 after this. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newton, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game, Jake Lyman, alongside Paul Kuharsky. Connor Newt behind the glass today, getting ready for Titans and Falcons tonight. Second preseason game down in Atlanta. Going to see Cam Ward for at least a series or two. Second chance to see him in a full game setting, and we'll see how he does after a 5-for-8 performance last week for 67 yards. PK, before we get back into the Titans, you had some thoughts on some terrible television, and I love me some cheesy TV, so I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on what you've been watching lately.
Well, I'm like everybody, right? And it's hard to ask people for recommendations because you have no idea what they've already watched, right? And
right.
what you've already watched. So TV makes for a good conversation if you're with people who you kind of know what they've watched. But like if you and I were to start, like we're friendly now, but I don't know what your history is, and you don't know what my history is. Yep. So finding the starting point is very hard. So I watched Department Q on Netflix, which was terrific.
Never seen it.
But then, and it's relatively new, right? So that you can talk about new stuff,
right,
pretty well. So this is kind of a detective looking for a missing, or reopening a cold case, looking for a missing person. Really, really good. So then whenever I finish something really, really good, I'm desperate to find the next thing. I'm fishing around. I do that thing, where you're looking on all the streaming services, trying to find the next good thing. You watch a trailer. That didn't look good. That didn't look good. So I come across, this older thing. It was a 2011, we call it a drama. And it's got some cute women in it. I'll be honest. That was what lured me in. My wife is in and out on whatever I watch, mostly out, often asleep. And I've been doing a lot of traveling, so I'm watching a lot of this on my iPad in hotels or on planes. So this show is called Heart of Dixie, Hart.
I've heard of it.
Okay. Fast-talking city girl Zoe Hart winds up patching up the locals of a tiny town in the deep South when she inherits a medical practice in Alabama. Now, this is incredibly predictable. Everybody's in love.
It's a Hallmark movie.
The next person over, who's in love with the next person over. There's a big wedding planned between long-term couple. It gets sidetracked. This doctor who's a cute brunette is in love with the guy who was going to get married. Adding to it, the blonde Southern belle, Jamie King, I think. I looked her up. She was great friends with Taylor Swift, but then was a drug addict. She lost, I may be remembering this incorrectly. Gotcha. I think she lost her children, lost custody of her children because of this drug thing. So this whole drama with her off screen doesn't match up with her character at all, and I am complete. It's a soap opera, but then she decides, she's very prudish for a while. Then she decides she's going to sleep with the shirtless guy who's next door all the time. And all of a sudden there's all kinds of things going on. This town, Bluebell, Alabama, has this town is amazing. I want to go there. It has a huge thing for it. It's Valentine's Day. The whole city has this sweetheart thing that's going on. It's Arbor Day. They have a huge Arbor Day. Like every event, there's a huge thing that the whole town is involved in. It's a Brigadoon. It's a dream place. I am so into this show. Like I'm anxious to get home and be done tonight so I can watch the next episode. If the Yankees game, is unfavorable early enough, I will turn it off so I can get the Heart of Dixie. And it's 4 seasons. They're long seasons, and I'm only halfway through season 2.
Wow.
So there's a lot ahead of me. So I don't know if other people have shows that are this bad, that are this good, but I can't recommend this show highly enough.
I love it. I mean, it
is on, I'm watching it on Amazon Prime, but I see here on the web that I'm looking at has a Netflix symbol on it. So some of these things are done on multiple things. Right. I also look at at like the list, this Jamie King, she's been in nothing else of any kind of substance whatsoever. This Rachel Bilson, the title character, Zoe Hart, she's been in some other stuff. I'm now following her on Instagram, by the way.
There you go. Let me see if I I recognize her. What else was she in?
It's hard to keep track.
She
it really is.
was in something. Oh,
she was in the OC.
Right. She was also a guest character on How I Met Your Mother. That's how I recognize her.
There you go.
But yes, I'm a big fan of cheesy television
She's
shows.
a delight.
I
got to be honest.
It sounds exactly like I don't know if you've seen. There's a couple that does these like TikTok type videos of making fun of Hallmark type movies, and it's like big city girl goes down to the Apple Festival in small town, and small town man is worried big city girl is going to ruin them, but then they fall in love. It's like all this stuff.
She went down as the lawyer to
who was trying to buy the land,
buy the property.
Yeah, it's all that
and
kind of stuff.
Build a condo. This is less prudish. This is what I like about it. The Hallmark movie, ends with a kiss and they finally hold hands. I mean, there's some action going on in this.
Okay, I like it. If you want two like guilty pleasure shows that kind of sound a little similar, they're very popular. One Tree Hill. I don't know if you've ever.
That's an old one.
That's an older one. That's a very guilty pleasure show of like these high school basketball brothers. They're feuding and like there's love triangles and all this kind of stuff. And then the classic Gossip Girl. I don't know.
Yeah, I've never done Gossip Girl.
These are shows that I watched when I was in like high school. So I haven't watched them in a while, but those are full on guilty pleasure.
I feel like my
TV
feminine
shows.
side, if I went through all three of these, my feminine side would really be coming out. And you know who else is in this? Anna Chomsky.
I've heard that name.
Right. Well, she was in Vice. She was good in Vice, but she was in a movie called My Girl way back.
Okay.
So it's making me feel old. She's probably, I don't know, a little bit younger than me, but she's on my aging track. I feel like
Matt in Nashville.
She was very funny in Vice.
He gives you a recommendation here. He says Virgin River on Netflix is another really good modern soap opera like Heart of Dixie. He says pretty sure it's the same writers. Guilty pleasure show. So there you go.
If it's the same writers,
then you're
sold.
all in. We also have lots of people asking, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Go check this show out.
Yeah. So Trevor asked, now I'm left in suspense. What's the name of the show? He missed the beginning. It's Heart of Dixie, H-A-R-T. So make sure you go check it out. Like I understand that these are like the TV show equivalent of chick flicks. Like it's these drama, romance kind of things, but they get interesting. It's like Grey's Anatomy. How many tragedies can happen to that one hospital? They just keep adding more, and they're on season like 25.
Well, I think it's somehow algorithm adjacent in that you can see what's coming, and you still want. I'll speak for myself. I can see what's coming and I still want to see it.
Right.
And I think there is some real skill to that because there's a lot of stuff where I see what's coming and I'm like, I have zero interest in this.
Yeah. It's so predictable.
But this is predictable, yet I want to see it play out. And I don't know how they do that, but they're doing it.
I will give you one show that I recommend to everybody. And I don't know. Are you into like heists? Like
I love heists.
Okay.
I'm all
Have you
about
seen
heists.
Money Heist on Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the dub
yes.
that kills.
Does it kill you? That is one of the shows that I absolutely love.
I have a friend who grew up some in Spain and is fluent in Spanish, and he just raves constantly about it. It's the best thing in the history of television. I'm like, well, if I was fluent in Spanish and I could watch it like that, I probably would have enjoyed it.
The dub is hard to get used to, but it is one of my favorite shows. I watched that during COVID.
Yeah, it was pretty clever.
The way that like it always kept you on your toes of like you think that they're about to run out of time, but it was part of the plan in the first place, and they go back and do all this.
I love heists.
I do love that
a good
show.
Heist.
Let's go quickly to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Bob is on the line. Bob, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Robert.
Hey, Paul, I have to correct you because you're going to send some people to watch a wrong show. You said, and the Chomskys in Vice. It's Veep.
Veep. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah,
Veep,
yeah.
okay.
Big
Yeah,
difference.
well,
Big
The
difference.
reason I say that because Vice is a very different
Yes.
show.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Veep. Thank you very much. That is an excellent correction.
2 other recommendations. Have you watched either Netflix's Trainwreck series?
No.
I have not.
Watch those. Those are it's only an hour long. Each episode is different. One's called the Poop Cruise, where this cruise gets stuck out in the middle of the ocean and all the power dies. And the name of the episode tells you exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Great.
But there's 6 or 7 different ones. And then the other show, have you watched The Waterfront on Netflix?
I've heard about the Waterfront. I think I have it in my queue.
Pretty good. Pretty good one.
All right.
Thanks for the call,
But
Bob.
Yeah,
Veep,
not Vice.
Veep, not
Yes.
Vice. Yeah. Comedy.
Appreciate it, Bob. Great stuff on some, it's not going to win any Golden Globes or any Emmys, but there's a lot of entertaining television out there that, again, may not be good in the typical sense that you're looking for. Like, it's not Game of Thrones, it's not The Sopranos, but it's entertaining, and that's what we're looking for.
The degree to which you have to dig is disturbing. Like, I don't know. All of this is supposed to be so much better. But now going through the streaming networks, I cut the cord finally. I have YouTube TV.
Right.
It's the interfacing of the whole thing is not as delightful. And it's kind of funny because I feel like, all the things we hated about cable, we got rid of now, and we got this thing, and you're kind of looking at it saying, wouldn't it be great if all of this was put together in one place?
Yes.
Which is what we got away from
It's
just
just
because it's too expensive.
The wheel.
It's kind of like that restaurant on Seinfeld, where he had something for everybody.
Right.
And Jerry said, no, what you need to do is really limit it down and just go with the Indian food.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the episode, they're standing on the corner saying, wouldn't it be great if there's a restaurant that had all of these things that we want?
It's true. You don't know what you have until it's gone.
Yeah.
And
if Comcast would just be affordable.
Right. And maybe that's what we start seeing. Is it going back down to these, you combine everything and they give you a lower price, and
Too many. The streaming service thing is a little bit out of control, but I'm all in.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll take your thoughts on Cheesy TV if you've still got them, but we will get back into the Titans coming up next. The Titans and Falcons preseason game number 2 tonight. Cam Ward mentioned in his post-practice press conference that the Titans could have a top 10 offense. I talked with Nick Frazier about this yesterday, and I want to get PK's thoughts. We'll do that next. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, final hour on this Friday here on 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman and Paul Kuharsky with you. Connor Newt on the ones and twos, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Titans getting set for preseason game number 2 coming up tonight, 6 o'clock kick down in Atlanta against the Falcons. Titans had joint practices this week with Atlanta, and Cam Ward spoke after Wednesday's practice, and the line that drew headlines was a bold prediction of what the Titans offense could be in 2025. Here's what the quarterback had to say.
Now that you've had these 3 joint practices, just how do you feel like this offense stacks up against pro defenses? You've seen it live. How do you feel this stacks up?
Well, I think we honestly have the ability to be a top 10 offense. But also it goes on every guy in that huddle, including myself, bringing the right mindset every day. And us also playing together. I think that's the biggest things that we always put together. We never point fingers at each other on both sides of the ball. And we just got to always have that mindset that we can be the best offense in the NFL. And then it really just comes with just us caring about each other on the field, off the field. And I think a lot of that stuff will translate to the game.
So Cam Ward saying he thinks the Titans can be a top 10 offense this year. And a lot of people scoff at that. But with Nick Frazier yesterday on the show, I went through and looked at who was the 10th best offense in the NFL last season. And what would it take for the Titans to get to that level? And I found out it was the Denver Broncos who were the 10th best offense by scoring in the league last year. They scored 25 points per game.
Interesting that you went by scoring.
I went by scoring because you look at the Titans defense last year, which was second best in yards per game, but clearly was not a very good defense. I went by scoring. It's not a perfect stat, but it had the Broncos as the 10th best offense in all of football, with Bo Nix as a rookie quarterback. So I compared and contrasted the Broncos, who scored 25 points per game. The Titans scored 18.7 points per game. What was the difference? And you look through, they threw for about the same amount of yards per attempt. They ran.
Difference was 6 points for starters.
Well, the underlying details,
yeah, okay.
But yes, 6.3 points per game would be the exact difference. They ran for about the same amount on average. They had one just over 1,000-yard receiver and a couple around 500. The Titans had the best running back of the group, but obviously the Broncos kind of went with a running back by committee. The difference, turnovers and sacks. That was really the only major difference between these two teams. The Titans turned the ball over 34 times and quarterbacks were sacked 52 times. Denver turned it over 19 times and was sacked 24 times. So they cut the turnovers in half, they cut the sacks in half, and they were a top 10 offense instead of a bottom 5 offense like the Titans.
And I mean, you're onto something great there. I mean, they've preached off-season focus about turnovers and eliminating their killer mistakes, these sins. I can't remember what
self-inflicted negatives.
Self-inflicted negatives. Okay. Something that Brian Callahan kind of admitted that he lost sight of last year, kind of the inherent basics. I can't remember the exact context of Colt Anderson, but he said something along the way of like, I thought they knew that. And there was a degree of Brian Callahan presuming that there were certain fundamentals and basics that were baked into the cake. I came in and I was installing my scheme. I was very focused on us installing our schemes. And we didn't reinforce ball security to the degree that we needed to. This year, we did that from the very first day. Talked ball security constantly. Worked ball security every day for at least half a period in practice over and over. Sacks. Well, he's saying we addressed the offensive line. We've got a new right tackle who moved from left tackle who lost weight.
Yep.
We got who we thought was the best left tackle available on the market, in the free agent market. We brought in Kevin Zeitler, very experienced right guard who's been on a bunch of winning teams. We get Cushenberry back healthy. Skoronski is growing as well as anybody on our team. We're going to pass protect better. We've got a quarterback who's got a better sense of what's going on around him and isn't going to stand in and get in trouble. We'll throw the ball away. will evade pressure better, will have a better clock in his head. So there are major efforts to address both in mentality, in personnel, and in practice, those two issues that you raise as the major difference. Now, I would argue that separate of those issues that you see, there is talent there. I'm not a big Bo Nix guy, but Bo Nix played very well as a rookie for a proven coach in a proven system with some proven players.
Yes.
And that those things help them in those numbers and with that touchdown. And the Titans now have been scoring under 20 points a game for quite some time.
They finally got to 30 last year in one game. Two games.
Yeah, that first one was a freak show, right? Was that the Miami
Yes,
game?
that was Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley at quarterback.
Oh, my God.
For the Dolphins.
If you ever watch a game that 30 points are scored in that does not feel like 30 points, the Titans scored 15 a lot, 16 a lot, and that felt like a 16-point game with double the output, miraculously.
I'm not trying to say the Titans are going to be a top 10 offense, because it would be very unlikely for them to get to 25 points per game this year. But I'm just looking at this, and it's like, would anybody have thought this offense would have averaged 25 points a game last year? Bo Nix, Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Devon Vele. Those were the playmakers for the Broncos last year.
What was their line?
Their starting line.
Here's the other thing. To me, I think this was missed in Cam's quote, which I did not transcribe, but somewhere in there, while he's talking about top 10 offense and top 5 receiving core. And let's get back to that receiving core. Put a pin in that.
Yeah.
He said something about manifesting it.
Right.
Like I'm saying it to help manifest it. So I think we need to include that context.
Yes. He's not
outright saying it. And I understand. And I'm fine with him being super enthusiastic, pumping up his guys, understanding that the overall context around the team is negative. And so he's going to be the guy that pumps it up and is positive. It's kind of like there's a little McNair in it, in that it's opposite McNair. Like McNair used to take the blame for everything, right?
Right.
The receivers were horrible. They were dropping balls.
It's
Everybody was on them, and he would say it was his fault to kind of shield stuff. Well, everybody's on the receivers, and everybody's talking about how bad the team is. Cam's going to say, "Hey, no, we're great. We're great."
Yeah.
And that protects his guys in a similar way. Everybody's talking crap about him. Everybody's got doubts about him. And his thing is, I'm going to reinforce for these guys. Hey, we're fine. We're beyond fine. We're really good. Don't listen to all this noise.
Yes.
There's some leadership in that. Even if in his head, I hope he knows, because let's go back. I'll take the pin out of it. I'm the top 5 wide receiver. Okay. He had said that Traylon Burks was a top 5 wide receiver.
He did.
So and that Calvin Ridley's the best receiver in the league. So if they had the best receiver in the league and another top 5 wide receiver, 2 of the best 5 wide receivers in the league,
and they
lost a top 5 receiver, and there's still a top 5 receiving core, that is really remarkable.
For sure.
To suffer the loss of the great Traylon Burks and still be top 5 is absolutely stunning.
Yes. And that, I don't take any of that at face value, because it's exactly what you said. He wants to show his team that he believes in them and say, we can be a top 10 offense in the NFL. And I don't think that they're going to have a Broncos-like season last year. And I do have the offensive line. It was Garrett Bowles, Ben Powers, Luke Wattenberg, Quinn Miners, and Mike McGlinchey. So it's a solid offensive line.
3 of those guys you would recognize as guys who have good reputations.
Exactly.
2 of them, I don't know if they're good or not. I don't claim to know, offensive lines. But the the center and the.
I don't know Wattenberg or Powers,
Right.
but
No, I know Powers. I don't know.
you don't know
the
Miners.
other
Miners was really good last year. So
Okay.
there you go. There's 4 of the 5.
So between the two of us, we credit 4 of the 5 as being pretty good.
So yes, the offensive line is going to be huge, and I again, I don't take it at face value, but I understand that if they just cut down on those 2 catastrophic stats of you get sacked too much and you turn the ball over too much, there's a chance that this could be an average offense this year.
Yes.
And
that's what people are looking for.
Right.
Get to 15-ish.
Yes. Be 15, 16, 17, somewhere in there instead of 27th in scoring like they were last year.
And here's the other thing about the tackle depth. Like we're talking tackle depth is bad around the league. If they were to lose Latham or Moore for any kind of time, they'd be in big trouble.
Right.
Brian Callahan in Cleveland went 4 deep at tackle with guys nobody ever heard of and got production out of them.
Yep.
Now, last year, he came in and overestimated what they had. This year, they had a chance to do more. They didn't do a lot more. You can only do so much. Blake Hance hasn't been playing. He played mostly guard before this calf injury.
Right.
But he's in play as a tackle. Jalen Duncan, I don't think his heart is great, but he has played better in some of camp than I expected. Ojukwu, kind of by default, comes to the top of that. They've got Crenshaw Dixon, who
out of Florida.
I think people like. But Bill Callahan needs to be able to turn one of those guys into something. It's his time to do that in year 2, if they need one. He's got to get production out of one of those guys. That's his job.
Yeah, they've given him talented guys like Dan Moore, 4 or 5 year starter at left tackle, and J.C. Latham you spent the 7th overall pick on. But if you're Bill Callahan, one of the greatest offensive line coaches of all time, you got to turn one of those guys into a swing tackle.
Serviceable.
And we'll see if he can do that. 615-737.
Hopefully we won't see if he can do that.
Yes, that's true. Hopefully it never actually.
If they have to, that's where he makes the big bucks.
Right.
Not for Moore and Latham.
Right. It's hard to turn an average player into an elite player, but can you turn an average player into a serviceable player? Like that's what he's tasked with doing. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Previewing Titans and Falcons tonight. We'll see what the first team offensive line can do, and we'll talk about that coming up next. Likely against backups, maybe a couple of talented pieces put in there. We'll see what they can do in week 2 of the preseason. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt with you here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game.
win this games.
What do you think this team is in terms of identity building?
I'll say our biggest asset right now is just our physicality up front of the trenches. I think the O-line and D-line bring that every day to practice, whether we
Well, this is the start Cam Ward's answer there on the offensive line being one of the strengths of this team. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt, next man up. I don't believe that was Connor's fault.
No, that wasn't me.
I think that was just
accountability is our number one thing here.
That was just miscut, I believe.
Oh, miscut. Who did the cutting? I want to name names.
Well, I have no idea.
I cut it perfectly.
We'll have to go. Was it just stopped?
No, this is like a 12-second clip. I can go back in. I have the raw file saved.
I don't know. Might have been an issue there. But anyway, Cam Ward says the offensive line is a strength for this team, the physicality. And we were just talking about how if the Titans can decrease sacks, decrease turnovers, they can take a big jump on offense. And funny enough, Josh alerted us to this in the YouTube chat. He said ESPN ranked the Titans offensive line at 5th best in the league. So I went and looked, and an article came out this morning from Mike Clay at ESPN, and he ranked position by position all 32 teams based on those groups. So Paul had a good idea here. Let's go through here. Let's say too high, too low, or just right for these Titans position groups.
Like the porridge.
Yes. Is it baby bear, mama bear, or papa bear for Goldilocks here? We'll do the offense in this segment. We'll do the defense next. Quarterback. They have the Titans ranked at 28th overall. I would say that's pretty fair, considering you haven't seen the rookie and the backups are unproven to not very good.
Yeah. I mean, incredible amount of unknown. Looking in front of them, Giants 25th, Steelers 26th, Minnesota 27th.
I guess if you're looking at the full room, like the Giants do have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston in there who have at least proven they can play quarterback.
Both stink, though.
But
I mean, I don't have a problem. Behind them, Jets, Colts, Cleveland, Saints.
I think
they're better than those teams.
Right. I mean, Justin Fields is probably the only player in there who you could argue would be serviceable.
Carolina's 23. I mean, I don't know who their backup is.
I don't know if Dalton's still there.
Yeah, if Dalton's still there,
maybe that's why.
Above.
No, it's okay, Connor. Running back for the Titans with Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears when he's healthy, Julius Chestnut. They have the Titans 23rd. PK, you think that's a little low, or do you think that's about right? I don't know if it's too high.
Maybe a little low. I mean, New England's 19.
I guess maybe they really like Travion Henderson.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some juice coming with that. I think, looking at who's ahead, I mean, Buffalo's 15th, and you got to like their front of the line situation at least, and they're middle of the league. Jets 16. I think 23 maybe is maybe a touch low, but not super out of.
Like Tony Pollard was fine last year, but it's like, would you put him in the elite of the elite? Definitely not. And Tajay Spears just can't stay healthy. Wide receiver, Cam Ward. We just played the clip in the last segment. Cam Ward says that they have a top 5 receiving core in the league. ESPN disagrees. Titans 24th at wide receiver.
Yeah. I mean, to me, you've got one proven guy. 2, Lockett's old. Jefferson needs to rebound. He's been nothing for the last several years. And then, 3 completely unproven young guys.
I'd honestly argue it might even be too high.
I think so too.
I think Calvin Ridley pulls them up, but I don't know if it pulls them up at enough to 24. There's really no one else in that room that makes you think, oh, he could put up 700 yards this year. No,
I think optimism about receivers for the Titans have gone from has gotten too high.
Yeah.
They added numbers and they're intriguing guys and they're guys worth rooting for. I think they all have good personalities and stuff. And it's a lot better than how bad it was. But it's not good.
No, and any hope you have is just based on maybe the 4th round picks end up being starting level players, and you just don't know that yet.
And what are the odds you hit on both of them?
Right. Odds are it's going to be one of them. And we'll go to tight end here. You may even include Gunnar Helm in that. Like, odds are only one of those guys is going to end up being a long-term piece for you.
Yeah, that's a fair point. One of the three. As bad as they are at tight end, I sure hope it's one of the wide receivers.
Well, Titans 29th at tight end according to ESPN. Once you get down to the bottom 5, I think it's probably splitting hairs. But yeah, the Titans not good at tight end right now with Chigakonkwo, and then who knows what Gunnar Helm is. But the main reason we went to this article, the offensive line ranked 5th by ESPN. They don't have any kind of excerpt on here to show why they picked the Titans.
They have the best, the shakiest, and the unit to watch, and I don't think the Titans are mentioned in any category.
They do mention the unit to watch is Detroit, and it says Detroit said goodbye to standout center Frank Ragnow and right guard Kevin Zeitler. That's the most that you get, but 5th in the league seems very, very high. I think if you're the Titans, you're hoping to be top 20 in offensive line this year.
Better than Baltimore, better than the Rams, better than the Bucks, better than the Falcons, better than the Packers. Those are the 5 teams behind them.
Yeah.
Ahead of them, Philadelphia, Denver, who we just talked about,
right,
and ran through, Chicago and Minnesota. I don't know. It seems high to me based on the unproven factor, based on Cushenberry not being back. Seems very positively predictive.
It does say in the article, this is right now, like 2025 rankings rather than long-term outlooks. So apparently Mike Clay sees something in the Titans offensive line. I think everybody over there at St. Thomas Sports Park is hoping that he's right. The one thing I notice here is, man, if Caleb Williams has a bad year, it's on him. You look at offensive line for Chicago, 3rd, tight end, 6th, wide receiver, 7th. So they've given him the infrastructure to go out and have a good year. And Chicago, whose offensive line gave up 68 sacks last year, right now Mike Clay sees them as the 3rd best unit in the league.
And sticking with that, if this offensive line is 5th, the running back number should go up.
Right.
The receiver number should go up. The quarterback number should go up. None of those numbers got lifts off of this 5th offensive line.
Right. So the Titans,
or if they did get lifts, then they were really
bad before. Yes.
If you got a 2-spot bump.
I'd love to know where the Titans were ranked in this last year.
I tried to look it up.
Maybe he didn't do this article last year, but yeah, Mike Clay of ESPN ranks the Titans offensive line as the 5th best unit in the league. We'll look at the defensive rankings. I'll give you a little tease. They're not good. And we'll see if maybe they can look a little better tonight against Atlanta and 3rd-string quarterback Easton Stick, who will be under center for the Falcons. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt with you here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Final half hour of the show on this Friday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Chasing Big Joe coming up at the top of the hour from 12 to 3, and then DVD will bring you into the weekend from 3 to 6. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt with you, and we're going through this article from ESPN's Mike Clay ranking the top units at all position groups. We went through the Titans offense, and the shocker there that they have the Titans ranked as the 5th best offensive line in the entire league. Defensively, the interior defensive line is 4th, which I think if you asked what is the strength of this Titans team, you would say it's the interior defensive lineman with Jeffrey Simmons, who's probably one of the only proven Pro Bowl level players the Titans have on this roster, and then Tavondre Sweat, who you spent an early second-round pick on last year. So it makes sense to have the Titans' best position group, according to this article, be the one with probably 2 of your best players in it.
I think interior defensive line is not counting depth there. I mean, who's the Titans' third interior offensive
Day,
line?
Probably.
But he's,
he's a defensive end.
Yeah, do you call him interior? And does he help you score high? I mean, he's a nice player, but is he much beyond a replacement level player? Maybe a touch. James Lynch, I think, is a nice role player, but you'd like to upgrade James Lynch.
Yep.
Blake Benningfield, who writes for me, former Titan scout, likes James Lynch for what he is, which is something. But look, the Titans do not have good. Cam Horsley might make this team, and I don't think Cam Horsley is anything
he had
special.
a nice play on that Jihad Ward sack. He kind of pushed Trask into the arms of Ward.
Yeah. But, are you looking at camp? Like, that's one thing this team lacks. I think it's one reason that this training camp is an exciting fan-wise. There's no underdog hero to root for here. People are forcing Restrepo, who they don't want to hear has sunk. Or I don't think he sunk. I think he is where he has always been. But they saw highlights of him making catches in OTAs and took that as meaning something. But there's no underdog here.
Right. Hard Knocks would have trouble finding people to focus on if they were here.
I agree. This undrafted rookie free agent class is not doing particularly well.
Right. I mean, one of the guys that I think people were pointing at that could make the team was David Benda. And I believe, is he gone now?
Yeah, I think he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
I have to be honest. They're making transactions at a good rate, which is good, but it makes it hard. Like, he threw out a name. We play this game.
Right. Who knows?
We play this game at camp. Nick Suss actually started at one time. A bunch of us standing around talking and said, like, who's a guy on this roster that coaches of this team wouldn't know is on this roster? And we start throwing out names.
When you got 90 guys, like, there's
I voted for like the deep running backs because it's a small position,
right?
And it's over, it's a little bit separate. Every position is separate, but like, would the linebacker coach or the secondary coach know the 5th string running back by name?
Would Jordan Mims be like on the top of the mind of some of the coaches? Maybe not.
I think that would be, I mean, if they would honestly go with it. By the way, did you see the Falcons social media team had a mumbler?
Yes.
It was a clever thing. But I'm going to give a shout out to Jeff Simmons and Arden Key, who, unlike, who was it? It was London.
Yes.
And who was the other Falcon?
Was it an offensive lineman? Maybe not.
No, I think it was a scrawnier guy. But the two Falcons, so they had a guy like start to ask a question and then he just mumbled and stuck the microphone out. And the two Falcons ultimately like faked an answer, very short answer, but they faked an answer. And Simmons 3 times said, I don't know what you're talking about.
I have no idea what you're saying.
I have no idea what you're saying. And Arden Key like got to a point where he said, yeah, like a semi-answer, but more a question back to the guy. And so both Titans did not participate in the BS. And then when the guy gave the reveal, they were both like, I'm relieved because I had no effing idea what you were talking about.
Yeah.
So good for them not like faking along with it. The Falcons did both fake along with it. And then when he revealed, they were like, oh, man, I was just trying to, give you something. which is dumb. Like if somebody's talking absolute nonsense to you in any scenario, why wouldn't you say like,
what are you talking about?
I do not understand a word you're saying.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, go check it out on Falcon social media. The guy comes up and he's like, when you come to training camp, and it's just like, you're like, excuse me, what did you say? So well done from Jeffrey Simmons and Arden Key. Speaking of Arden Key, Titans fans will be shocked to know that there are 2 position groups, according to ESPN, that are worse at edge rusher than the Titans. And they are the 2 teams that were in the NFC Championship last year, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. Titans are ranked 30th at edge rusher, which I think is too high.
I'm surprised about the Eagles. I'm going to pull up their depth chart real quick. I know they lost. Is it Josh Sweat or
so Josh Sweat went to the Cardinals.
Which was a loss, and he obviously played very well in the Super Bowl, which is raised his value to probably more than he was worth as a free agent, and certainly in the eyes of the public. But they've got Nolan Smith Jr. And Jalix Hunt as their outside linebackers, then Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari. So a couple of reclamation projects from Ojulari from the Giants, Uche from the Chiefs. Yeah, I could see that not ranking well.
And the Commanders, you look at theirs, they talk about it as the shakiest. Dante Fowler Jr. led the Commanders in sacks last year. He is in Dallas now. So they have Dietrich Wise, Von Miller, who's 36 years old, Jacob Martin, Dorrance Armstrong, and Cleveland Farrell. So, if you had to ask me, would I take that room or the Titans room? Maybe I would take the Titans room, but only by a slim margin.
I think I'd take the Commanders room.
Neither are good.
No.
Skipping past some of the ones we kind of already know. Off-ball linebacker, not good, 30th. Cornerback.
Who's behind them in off-ball linebacker?
Off-ball linebacker, Carolina and the Rams. So the Rams, I guess, lost Christian Roseboom, so they really don't have a whole lot there. They list Nate Landman.
And that's a team that was out on Ernest Jones 2 years ago.
Right. It traded Ernest Jones last year, and then the Titans trade him to Seattle. Cornerback, 18th, which I guess is probably including L'Jarius Sneed in the calculations there. So that's probably about right.
I think they're trending in the wrong direction, as we talked about earlier. So I would, if they're 18th, I would put them 18th with the red down arrow.
Yes. And safety is the one that kind of surprises me. They have them at 24th. Titans 24th.
I think that's legitimately low.
Yes. I
think that's legitimately low. I think Woods has not been talked about enough. I think he'll be a solid player for them.
Right.
I think Hooker, I don't like to talk about guys being underrated because it's always a question of who's doing the rating. I think Amani Hooker's a good player. He gets hurt too much.
Yeah. He doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah. But when he's out there, the guy does some things. And also, I think people are envisioning him as on the outs after this year. I will say this, like as soon as they get some depth, they draft Kevin Winston. Everybody goes, oh, that means that Hooker in a contract year is out.
Yeah, you do need more than two safeties.
And they signed Woods for 2 years, but I don't know that next year they're financially bound to him. But it'd be okay for them to have all three. And Amani Hooker's only 27. So he is not like a guy who's on the verge of done. If he can give you 14 games, the guy has a nose for the ball. He is, I think, an embodiment of the kind of guy they want. And I think rewarding him with a third contract at a reasonable price would send a nice signal to most of the guys on the defense. And I think he's got some presence. He's like a calm. He's what you want in the secondary.
I mean,
I like Amani Hooker a lot.
He's one of the few Titans draft picks who's still sticking around from the last 5 years. Him and Simmons were in that class, and that was a really good class, and they're pretty much the only ones who were left.
And I'll say this, look, and me liking a guy, it's not some big qualifier for his qualification to be around, but I don't like too many guys who are not good talkers, And Amani Hooker, I go to once in a while because of all the things I just said about him, because of his stature. And I rarely walk away with a quote that I can use.
So
he's a nice guy,
right?
a conversational guy. I'll talk to him sometimes with my recorder away, just shooting the BS. But he's not a very quotable guy, and I gravitate to the quotable guys because
You want quotes.
I'm working. He's not that. And still I rank him high. And if you go through people I've ranked high over 30 years covering this team, 29, there aren't too many guys like him on my list. So take that for what it's worth.
Overall, the Titans roster is ranked 26th in the NFL, ahead of the Jets, Jaguars, Panthers, Raiders, Browns, and Saints. You play 5 games against those teams.
How much above them are the Colts?
Colts are 22nd, 4 spots ahead. Atlanta is listed as 25th.
I know people want me to make predictions. I made the same prediction last year. I don't know how many games the Titans are going to win. I think they will win more games than the Colts, not than the Jaguars.
Yeah, I think
they're the third place team in the AFC South, which is what I said last year. And I think the Colts second. Are the last place team.
I could see it.
Now, I don't know what the gaps are there.
Right.
I think Houston could run away with the division.
I agree. Houston is 14th in the overall roster ranking. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Last call for phones. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will wrap up the show after this. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Final segment for the week here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt with you. Chasing Big Joe coming up next here on the station. Titans and Falcons, about 6 hours away from Atlanta. Preseason game number 2 and our second look at Cam Ward in the two-tone blue. Actually, in the whites again today. White on white for the Titans in preseason game number 2. PK, before we get out of here, what are we looking for from Cam Ward in his second start in the preseason? Last week, got off to a shaky start, made one bad throw on the second drive, but overall, I think you liked what you saw. What kind of growth do you hope to see in his second chance out there in a game atmosphere?
Well, you'd like him to build on it. So, the Ridley connection is great, and he had 2 good third down conversions. What can you do more than that? His footwork wasn't great on a couple things. Maybe you want to clean that up. But drive the offense down. Like to see, if they don't throw a long touchdown or run for a long touchdown, like to see some red zone action. And you'd like to see him throw into the end zone or throw something that in the red zone. And some of these other receivers, we know the Ridley thing is there. What can he do? Hopefully Ioman or somebody gets rotated in there beyond Jefferson and Lockett so that we could see what he's got going with them. And you want to see the offensive line continue to give him time there. So things are on rhythm, and we could see that element of the Titans offense, which I think they say timing is everything. And we saw that in the one good drive in Tampa Bay. Let's see more of that.
Yeah,
tonight.
I like what you said about Iomanner. If it seemed like they were trying to feed him the ball, and I know they said that it was just the rhythm of the offense, but you know what you got in Tyler Lockett. He's an aging slot guy. Van Jefferson is what Van Jefferson is. I'd like to see if Ward and Iomanner can get a little rhythm going tonight. Maybe, it doesn't have to be like Ridley, 3 catches for 50 yards, but if you could, target Iomanner on a third down, see if he can go make a play, give him a couple of targets with the first team offense. I think that'd be good. The big thing for Cam Ward that I'm looking for is just don't repeat the same mistakes. We saw them last week, not getting the ball out of bounds. That kind of reared its head in joint practices when he did the same thing, and this time threw an interception. I'd like to see if he does flush out of the pocket and has to throw away, throw it into the 8th row. I'd love to see just some growth in some of the small things that we've seen Cam Ward struggle with so far.
Yeah, he joked about hitting the opposing coach in the head. Opposing coach is usually on that white stripe, which is not necessarily far enough out of bounds. Yeah. So like you're saying, make no mistake about it being out of bounds.
I was thinking
the pick he threw in the practice was really disappointing.
Yeah, you said Levis-esque in the tweet, which is never what you want to see. I was saying the other day, based on what we saw in Tampa, he should just pretend there's a scrum going on in the second row of the stands and just try and fire it in there and hit somebody in red. PK, thanks for hanging out.
Enjoyed it. Look forward to being back. Don't block the box. Be sure to lock your locks.
Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. We'll be back on Monday to recap preseason game number 2, Titans and Falcons, coming up at 6. For Paul Kuharsky, Connor Newt, I'm Jake Lyman. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.